Well, hey everybody, welcome into another edition of Talk About Watches Live, and let's talk about watches. My name is Tim, and tonight we're going to welcome Craig Hester to the show, and this is going to be cool because Craig and I have never done a show where the concentrated portion of it is going to be $99, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen a promo leading up to this, and I'm very excited to do it. So we're going to have a brand that some of you know, and some of you tonight it'll be new, and that is a brand called Extri, E-X-T-R-I. Very cool brand, and you guys are going to save a fortune on that. It includes sapphire crystal, 10 ATM, and again, a lot of you saw that in the promo. And all of this, by the way, is available right now. If you are a member of our email list or our closed Facebook group, you've already had the links, and I'm sure you've been over there, but the point is it's all available, or you guys can just hit the link right off to the side or underneath, depending on the device you're watching us right now, and delve in. You don't have to wait to see us do it live as such. Speaking of which, I'd like to invite everybody out there to join our email list. We're not going to spam you. We don't like spam either. You're going to get an email a day, you get the deals of the day, plus you're going to get insight into industry news, and if you're a member of that list, you'll have the ongoing opportunity to join the closed group on Facebook. And that group gets heads up ahead of everybody else on deals of the day, on stuff like we're doing for you in this upcoming segment and the news and so on and so forth. And all of this is free, so please do join us. We'd love to have you guys along. Now, in addition to our obviously, the Facebook group, as I mentioned in the email, you can also follow us with other social media outlets such as Instagram, Twitter, Google Plus, and a lot of you now watching us via YouTube Live. So pick your favorite platforms and join us. We certainly love to have you as we continue to build TAW week after week. And we got some great pending announcements for you guys too. So excited to delve into that. And obviously we'll be doing that in the coming days and weeks. Also, a quick reminder that PayPal credit is going to be a huge help for you guys. For example, tonight I mentioned the $99 specials on Extri, but we're also going to have a fantastic deal from Aviator. I can't begin to tell you how cool that watch is. A great piece that is commemorating the World Cup having been played in Russia. That's going to be built by Sturmanskie. Actually, it has been built by Sturmanskie. We have the last of available quantity on that. And PayPal credit can help on this stuff, so check it out. Even on some of the $99 stuff, I think I think it has to be a $100 cutoff, so you just throw in anything else and you guys are good to go. The point is PayPal credit gives you interest-free option, and it's a lot more flexible than the rigid 6-pay some of you are familiar with. So once you qualify, you can pay it out for 6 months with no interest and no payments if you want, and as long as you pay it out by the due date, there is no interest charged ever. And if you want to double down on a month or skip a month or whatever, it's a very easy way to do it. And it's simple. It's on the last page of our checkout. Just say, I want PayPal credit. Once you qualify, you're good to go. It's really that simple. All right, let's go ahead and get underway. And as I do, a quick reminder, or maybe more accurately, a favor from you guys. If you love what we do, could you please share our videos? It's one of the easiest things. It'll take you guys just a couple of seconds. Please share what we do around in your various social media platforms, and we sure do appreciate you guys stepping up and helping us get the word out as TAW continues to grow by the week. So thank you, everybody. All right, let's get underway and welcome Craig Hester to the show. Craig Hester back on the show. Hey, thanks for doing this again, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, it's been a while. I'm glad we could work it out again.
You know what's cool, I think, for this segment is the brand that you've worked with them, but I've never worked with them before, which is the Extri brand.
Yep, and this is the first time we've been able to do anything below $100.
I know, which is what we've been talking about in the promos, and what is so cool, and hence I got it into the promos, right, is usually if you're going to do a Craig Hester show, he's bringing in stuff that's $250, $300, $400. In the case of something like a Denisov, you're between $1,000 and $2,000. Worth every penny, by the way. I've collected it for years. They're amazing. But my point is, this segment, we're actually going to talk about something below $100, and it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, we don't get to do that very often. Yeah, you want to go through real quick everything that's going to be in the show, Tim?
Yeah, why don't we do that? For those of you who have the email or you've got the advance notice, obviously we're opening with Extri, and I think we have a Sturmanskie, and I'm leaving something else.
An Aviator.
Aviator, thank you. Let's take a look.
All right, so we're starting with Extri. I'll explain the brand more when we get into it, but for those of you who like to get a deal, this is the deal for the show, definitely. We have not been able to do $99 watches before. And that is what we're doing with Extri tonight, including a model with the bracelet. So you've got two different sets of models. You've got one that's on a bracelet. This is a chronograph model with two options on the bracelet. One's going to have the orange or kind of a burnt umber accents, and then one all silver, which I'll tell you more about when we get to it. And then there's another set that is on the leather, heavy duty leather. I'll get into that more later too. And these have the cream dial and then the black with the yellow accents. So those two are available. Let me quickly give you, the cream is the X3012B, and the black there is the 3012A. And just so you know, so if you're looking real quick, you're wanting to go ahead and grab these because they're not going to last.
No, they're not.
This is the X3011SD. That is the bracelet model with the all silver and very tone-on-tone look. And then the X3011SA is the one with that kind of, like I said, it's an orange, but it's a really dark orange, kind of a, definitely an orange towards the brown end of an orange spectrum. So those are the Extris. Again, $99. I wouldn't hesitate on those. I wouldn't even wait for the full presentation because those are probably not going to last very long. Then the other hot item tonight is the, I always do it backwards. I should sit here, I should sit here and just play. Just play with the camera all the time because I always want to go the wrong way every time. Anyway, so as I sit here, I'm going to talk about the Sturmanskie football watch. So everybody knows the World Cup is over, but we still have what is now becoming increasingly difficult to get because they didn't build that many. The Sturmanskie commemorative World Cup edition. I want to make sure I'm clear that it's not an official World Cup thingamabob. They aren't licensed or anything. They just did an edition to commemorate the fact that the World Cup was in Russia this year, and we'll talk about that in more detail. And the number on that one is 2432-457-1795. And then the other item tonight, our special slipped it in at the last minute item. We only have a handful of these in stock. This is from Aviator. This is from the MIG collection, and this is just a rock and roll cool watch. The story on this one tonight is the MSRP on this is $879, and we've got a really good deal on that.
Yeah, we do. By the way, that is a very cool watch. I got it, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
The dial work, the case work, that's I really like the production on that.
Yeah, you've seen this in Basel, so you actually have helped.
I mean, because on one, it's kind of a soft cushion shape, but on the other hand, it's still this really aggressive Aviator thing going on. It's a fine line, and I think they nailed it with that watch.
Yeah, and this one is the only one in the show tonight that actually has is truly Swiss made. So that's important to know. And of course, Sturmanskie, you're talking Russia. Okay, so back to Extri.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
You know me, Tim, in terms of what I don't ever overhype a brand or make it seem like more than what it is. We picked up the Extri brand for one reason and one reason only, and that was, well, not the only reason, but to be clear, the first motivating factor was to get something for us that was a little more on the attainable side price-wise than a lot of our watches. You mentioned it earlier. You know, most Vostok Europes are north of 300. Sturmanskie's north of 300. Denisov, you're above 1,000. You know, we don't have inexpensive timepieces. That's just not our stock in trade. But I had a lot of guys were asking, you know, could you pick up something? I trust you. I trust Tim. We trust doing business with you. Could you pick up something a little more, you know, a little more attainable that could be like an entry-level watch for me, for us? Or I'm looking for a beater. You know, I'm spending. I don't want to spend a ton of money, and it's one I'm just going to wear all the time and beat up. So we picked up Extri. They're a brand out of Hong Kong, which, as you and I both know, that does not have the what's the word I'm looking for? The negative connotations that it used to. I mean, most brands are at least building part of their watch, if not all of it, these days with Hong Kong components or in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong has some very high-end labs.
Absolutely.
That do a lot of the Swiss brands, by the way, for those of you who are still laboring under the delusion that everything that says Swiss actually comes from there. Right. But it you know, mathematically maybe, but not everything. But we'll get to that another time. The fact that this is in Hong Kong already, I'm a fan because that means you're going to have an exciting price point, but the quality, the heft is still going to be there for that.
Right. And that's my point being, there's no stigma anymore with saying it.
And there shouldn't be.
They're interesting designs. They do a lot. If you're into simple dials, this is definitely not the watch for you. They do a lot of interesting and elaborate dial work. But what it really comes down to, Tim, as we were talking about before the show, is what you're getting for the money here. First of all, I want to make it clear, the watches that we're looking at from Extri here are not normally $99. Okay, let's just be clear about that. That is a very special price we're doing for TAW. these watches are normally, you know, in the 200 to 300 range, or right under 200. But in terms of the components that you're getting, first of all, this is a 46 millimeter watch, and that is a sapphire crystal on there. Well, that alone, you're getting a watch under $99, I mean, under $100 at $99 with a sapphire crystal. It's 10 ATM, which they could have, you know, cheaped out and done the 3 ATM, just, you know, to say they had some water resistance, but or even 5. I mean, not that 5. I mean, 5 is actually still a pretty solid water resistance for a non-dive. But the fact that they went 10, I mean, you and I got our, you know, we know that it wasn't that many years ago, 60s and 70s, at 10 ATM was a dive watch.
Well, here's the thing. Let me just recap what you did so far really quick. Guys, while they last, and you see it on the graphic, right? Seriously, it's $99 all in. You should grab 1 or 2 of these, use them either as the cool watch that it is or use it as a beater. But just to reiterate those 2 points that Craig just made, if I can here just for a second. You're at 10 ATM. That basically means you shouldn't scuba dive with it, but everything else is fine. And you've got sapphire crystal. And you and I know on a regular basis, if you've wanted 10 ATM and sapphire crystal, you've been spending a lot more money than this. And and clearly, and I put this in the promo too, I mean, this is an opportunity buy, so it's not like this is going to be on a regular basis. That it could be. But Craig's giving you guys a great price break on that. I'm glad you're taking advantage of it.
And it's also, I want, you know, some other things, Tim, right on top of that list. You know, this does not have an unknown or an unnamed movement in it, which a lot of watches, if they're south of $100, it just says quartz movement or it says whatever. You know, these are MIYOTA movements in this watch. It's the OS22, I believe it. No, it's the OS20. This is the OS20 in here, which means you've got a full function chronograph in a Japanese MIYOTA movement. I mean, that right there.
Right.
This is not a, you know, this is not a cheap, no name, no brand movement. I mean, you can always tell when, you know, when a watch is being sold, if they don't want to tell you what the brand name is, that means they're not proud of it. You know, so it's right on the back. This is a MIYOTA OS20. And then the fact, now there's the ones with the strap, which I'll get to the strap in a second, and the strap alone, the strap style is fantastic. But here's something you just never see at this price point is a black PVD Sport Link bracelet with the safety clasp in a $99 watch. And guys, this is not, I mean, I'm not going to say, I'll use a comparison to one of our own brands so that nobody can say this is not a VE quality bracelet. I mean, Vostok Europe bracelets are like off the charts, but this is a solid, very acceptable quality, you know, you're not going to be unhappy. Let me just put it that way. This is not some cheap. First of all, there's no folded metal here. You can see the links. There's no folded metal, which you would usually get in a watch at this price point. It's solid end links, not folded end links. So to get that on a watch for $99 with a really nice black PVD bracelet, the black PVD case, the sapphire crystal, you know, everything else is stainless steel. A MIYOTA movement. It's a lot, and it's a good looking watch. You know, the way they did that with the spring looking deal on the pushers, and the fact that it has the open date wheel, you know, it's a good looking watch. I'll put it this way: nobody's going to look at this watch on your wrist and think you paid $100 for it. You know, it looks certainly like it's definitely higher end than $100. Let me quickly again tell you got the orangish, like a dark orange, and then very limited quantity with the silver, more tone on tone look. And then the other style that's available from Extri, I do love that they say they're expert, extreme, exceed. Setting aside that those 3 words don't work together grammatically, they are an interesting brand in that they I mean, it's one thing, you know, again, I'm a big believer in full disclosure, Tim. This is a Hong Kong brand based in Hong Kong. They're not having to outsource anything. They're building everything in their own factory. That's part of why the fact that they can give you more for the money, because there's not they're not building it for someone else, and then there's got to be a built-in upcharge, and then all of that goes along. You know, and we're dealing with them direct. So that's why you can get a sapphire crystal and why you can get the 10 ATM and so forth, but you don't normally get at this price point. This one, the other model, the really cool factor on this is this half stadium dial that they have. And I don't know if I can get it in here, but maybe you can get it in the close-ups, Tim, is that it's a really cool decoration on the dial. I mean, all that stuff, cost money to
Well,
produce.
sure. I mean, part of, to me, what's exciting about this, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and let's kind of transition to some of the other stuff because this is already in very limited quantity. But when you look at the dial sculpting and you look at again 10 ATM and it's 316L steel and it is sapphire crystal, this was never supposed to be to the public for under $100.
Right, and sandwich dial too on this
it's
one.
like case in point, right?
Yeah. It's just really cool. I mean, believe me, we're doing for the Iron Wolf, which is going to be one of the upcoming Pramsius watches, because I can't ever miss an opportunity to plug Pramsius. By the way, for those of you who keep asking, yes, September is still when we should be getting the Berlin Wall in. That we're doing a sandwich dial on the Iron Wolf, and I can tell you that that's not cheap because you've now put 2 dials on the watch. I mean that's what you're doing. If you don't know for those of you who don't know what a sandwich dial is, it's what it sounds like. One dial is on top of the other, and they cut out so that you see the numbers underneath, and it creates a nice 3D effect on the dial. All right, we'll move on, but I just want to point out quickly, the strap is also excellent. It's a double thick strap. This actually, again, I wouldn't quite put it up there with Vostok Europe quality, but dang, it's getting close. I mean, this is a really, really, really solid leather strap on this. Everyone also comes with an additional silicone strap, and they have the quick change pins. Really solid packaging. You're going to get this home and go, wow, I paid $99 for that.
Yeah,
no way around.
You know what? I'll compare it recently to a deal that we did. For those of you who loved either of those Benris, which blew out of here by hundreds and hundreds, and you remember that wow factor when you open it, I can't believe what I got for the money. You will have that reaction with these Extris. They're remarkable. All right, let's move the show forward. And by the way, no rain checks on that either. When they're gone, they're gone. So just know that.
That's right. If I can get, if I can work out a deal on them, we worked out a special deal on these. If I can do it again later, we might, but I'd bring in different styles. So if you definitely like these, you want to grab them. So, all right, the other big story of the night. Okay, the first thing is I know nothing about football or soccer, for those of you who give a dang. I basically know that there's a guy standing in front of a net who's trying to keep the other guys from putting this ball into that net. And beyond that, I have no clue. But I do know enough to know that the World Cup is a big deal.
Biggest sporting event in the world.
Braca. Look, I'm Madonna. So anyway, this watch is by Sturmanskie because of those of you who are into sports. I'm sure you knew that the World Cup was in Russia this year. And if you're not into sports and didn't know that, hey, the World Cup, it was in Russia this year. So Sturmanskie, in their infinite wisdom, decided to make a commemorative edition for the World Cup, and that's what you see in front of you. Now, I want to point out, so that I don't have lawyers knocking on my door, and so that Sturmanskie doesn't have lawyers knocking on their door, this is not an officially licensed product of the World Cup or FIFA. This is a commemorative edition of the fact that that event happened in Russia. There's not the World Cup anywhere on this watch, and it is not officially licensed merchandise. Now that I got that set away, it is a watch that definitely speaks to the fact that that big event was in Russia. Now, if you've seen us with the, we didn't even mention this, Tim, and TAW has it at the fantastic price of $329.
Yes.
So, if you are familiar with the Gagarin Sport Collection, which I believe we have had on TAW before, this is basically that same watch in terms of the guts and the configuration and so forth, with some key changes to make it a watch celebrating football or soccer or whatever term you prefer. It is the 32 jewel. It's the 2432. It's the 32 jewel 2432 Vostok movement. As I like to say, this watch is one of those where you can't get any more Russian than this watch. It has the Russian movement. The watch is handmade or hand assembled. Sorry, I have to be clear because that would have to mean that they made every single piece if I'm calling it handmade. And I can guarantee you, for instance, this strap was not made in Moscow. But hand assembled in Moscow by their team of watchmakers in Moscow. It's all Cyrillic, which Tim and I love when the watches are 100% Cyrillic, because that really speaks to it being as Russian as you can get, and you've got the Russian movement. This is a dual time watch. The internal rotating bezel on this one, instead of having world time cities like a world timer would, it has the venues that were at the World Cup. And then what's really cool about this one, and I'll be doing this upside down and backwards, is because there's a globe in the middle of the most of the Gagarin sports. In this case, the soccer ball turns, instead of the globe. I mean, that alone, that's pretty cool. Now, you're probably asking me, but Craig, the World Cup is over. You seem to have missed the boat. Why didn't you do this earlier? Well, friend, I'll tell you. Because the first round of these that we had sold out right away, and these are pretty much sold out worldwide now. They didn't make a big run of these, but we were able to secure basically the last batch that Sturmanskie had. So if you are a fan of the World Cup, if you are a fan of soccer or football, or if you are a fan of limited edition cool watches, which I know everybody watching this show is, then this is one you don't want to miss picking up. It's got the soccer ball on the back with a semi-exhibition case back. You're talking a 46 millimeter on here. This one is, I believe this one is, yeah, this is a 10 ATM. It is a 46 millimeter case, all surgical grade stainless steel. You've got the enamel cabochon or cabochon, or however you pronounce that better than I do.
What, cabochon?
Cabochon, that's it, on the crown. It's just, it's a really cool watch with a great story, and it's immediately collectible because I looked around on the net. There's not many places now that still have them, and they're selling out fast, and I know they're not going to reproduce this. This was a one-off. So,
well, there's not a lot of things
comments?
you can own that are immediately collectible, but just the fact that was a one-time event created within a wristwatch, it's collectible the moment you get it.
Right, and we've got it on a great deal here at TAW. It's a really great color combo. Actually, of the Gagarin Sports, this is my favorite color combo anyway. I love this blue. It's a deep, rich blue. Nice, thick, padded leather strap on it. And again, a 46 millimeter case with the dual time. And I love the way that the soccer ball rotates in there, or football, or whatever. So again, I wish I could drop names and tell you names of players and talk about this like I have any clue, but I don't.
I can tell you that France won.
France won. I did know that. And you know why I know that? I only know that because I'm friends with Sophie Rendler on Facebook. And she was so excited because she's French. She lives in the U.S. now, but I know she's French. And she's with Talker watches. And I saw how excited she got. And that was the only reason I knew that France even won. I actually did watch one of the games. I watched Russia versus Croatia because I happened to be in a bar where it was on. Anyway, so forgive me for my lack of knowledge of the sport, but I definitely know that you're not going to be disappointed with the watch. So there's that. There's Sturmanskie, first watch in space on the wrist of Yuri Gagarin. And so there you got the history of that too. And now we will move on to the bonus item of the night that we threw into the show at the last minute. And that is the Aviator MIG from Aviator Watches, now based in Switzerland. This is a Swiss-made watch. This is actually a 45 millimeter. By the way, the Extris are all 48s. I think I said 46 earlier. They're all 48s. The soccer ball is a 46, depending upon how you want to look at the crowns, because it does have the double crown. And this is technically listed as a 45, but I'm not sure they're taking into account the whole shape here. This is one of those unusually shaped watches where it's kind of hard to actually define the case size.
Where do you put the caliper on it?
Where are you putting the caliper? Are you on the outside of the crowns? Are you talking about on either side of the bezel? But anyway, you're in the 45, 46 range. Comfortable size for the guys who like big watches, not too big for those who don't like big watches. This is from their MIG collection. As you know, Tim, as you well know, we got to meet them when we were in Russia. Swifts, which is the Russian equivalent of the Thunderbirds. And actually, I didn't do this on purpose. This is just happenstance. But you guys know we're not Russia to All anymore. We're actually now r2awatches.com. But if you type in russia2all.com, it'll still go there. But this isn't a show about our site. This is about TAW. But anyway, since I'm wearing the shirt, and this is the plane that the Swifts fly, which are the Russian, basically the equivalent of the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels. They're a world-class aerobatic flying team, and they are official ambassadors of the Aviator brand. And so this is one of the watches that is from the MIG collection. Now, as Tim said earlier, the design on this is wickedly cool. It is an unusual case design. It's kind of a combination of a cushion, but not really, and an classical aviation, but not really. They kind of fuse together a lot of things going on here, and they did it in a very good way. This retails for $879, so we've got this on a great deal at TAW. Now, one thing I want to point out right away, I guess I'm not right away anymore since I've been talking about this for a good 5 minutes now, but the external bezel doesn't rotate The rotating bezel is actually the internal rotating bezel. Now, this is a RONDA 5040D, and this is the higher end 5040D with the gold parts. So this is the top quality RONDA 5040 Swiss-made quartz chronograph movement. So it is a full functioning chronograph. It comes with 2 straps. It comes with this form-fitting. Well, they're actually both integrated. They're both form-fitting. You've got I believe they actually use real rubber on theirs and not silicone. So this actually, I believe, is an actual rubber strap. And then
which is awesome.
Yeah, and then it's got the leather integrated strap that's going to come with it as well. And one of the really cool things about the higher end aviators, they all come with this really cool tool where you unscrew it and the watch tool is underneath the screw-in cap. And I'm going to sit here and actually very honestly admit that I stole this idea from them. When you get your Berlin Wall watch from Pramsius, the heads that will change the strap, it's the same tool. I bought it from the same company, but they actually gave me the name of the company because I loved this idea. Because one of the things that drives me crazy about watch tools is you leave them sitting around or whatever, they bang against something and that little piece of metal gets broken, or it gets warped if you bump it, or if you're, slam something down on the desk and maybe it's there. This is nice because you close it back up and it's protected. So the end that you use for changing the straps is going to last a lot longer because it's protected. So that's the MiG-29. What else about this one you think, Tim? This is sapphire crystal on this one. This is 10 ATM as well. Again, all surgical grade stainless steel, of course. Really great relief image of the MiG on the back. I really like that. And this, they built it. It really, let me put it on the wrist. That's one thing I always forget in these shows is to show some wrist shots. This really hugs the wrist beautifully. It's a very comfortable watch to wear. Which to look at it, you might think it's not with that shape that it has. But they did a really good job, especially with the integrated strap, of making it have a nice snug fit on the wrist.
I want to mention really quick that part of what I love about the natural rubber is that really there's only a handful of brands that are doing it, and they're usually really high end. And I'll give you an example. When I first started studying Hublot as a brand, it was back in the 90s, and at the time they had just spent over $1 million to work out a natural rubber that smelled like vanilla. They take it really serious. And you guys are in great company when you're moving up the tier and you actually get to the real thing, the natural rubber. And I thought it was an outstanding choice that Aviator went with on that strap. By the way, hugely comfortable. Craig's absolutely right on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting design. It's a great look. It's definitely one that's going to get noticed on the wrist. And the orange on this one is that almost like a safety orange, not bright. I mean, it's still subtle, but it's a great orange on this. Their lume is fantastic. If you like aviation watches, if you like Swiss-made watches, and you want a watch that has a real heritage and is tied to something really cool like the Swifts, this is a great one to pick up. I think in the entire time that we've been carrying this particular one, I don't remember a customer ever sending one back. So. So those are the top items for today. Obviously, the big story is first time we've ever done a $99 deal.
Cool.
That thing, you want to grab those before they're gone. We've got the Sturmanskie football or soccer watch. Yay! My pathetic attempts at humor. And then the Aviator MiG. So that's a nice lineup. It's been a while since we did a show.
This has been overdue, man. I'm glad you did it. Part of what I love about that Aviator is that in a moment when you look at it, you see the Aviator influence, but at the same time, it has such a distinctive look. It's not one of the cookie cutters where it like the luxury watch has to look like the pie plate, and then the pilot watch has to look like so-and-so. They really went the wrong route, and I think what they did is spectacular. And those of you who picked that up, like Craig said, he's yet to see one of those ever be refused by a collector, and he's right. Craig, thanks again for doing this. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, everybody that tuned in, and of course there'll be the replays. A quick reminder, if you would, please share this around. It's one of the great ways that if you like what we at TAW do and what Craig does, you can really help continue to build our little empire. Just share this around on all your social media. So thanks, everybody out there. My name is Tim. We'll see you guys back really soon for another edition of Talk About Watches Live. Be well, everybody.